Good evening, guys. Sorry for the delay. Hope you all are healthy and doing great at your homes. We are the Coding Club team and bring to you one of the hot tech topics of the current time, Google Summer of Code, or in other words, GSoC 2022. You might have heard about GSoC from your friends, your batches, your seniors, or even from the internet, but may not have a complete clarity as to what it is exactly about. Well, don't worry, because I welcome you to Deciphering GSoC 2022, where Hardik Katehara, who was accepted at GSoC at the OPIA Foundation in the year 2021, and Shank Das was accepted at National Resource for Network Biology in the same year for GSoC 2021. These two will be introducing GSoC to us and will be providing their expertise as to how we can get selected for the upcoming GSoC. Over to you, Hardik.
Hello everyone, I'm Hardik Katera and I did my GSoC under the OPIA Foundation. OPIA Foundation is an online learning platform which believes in providing free education accessible to all. So let's start. So deciphering GSoC 2022. The agenda for today. Firstly, we'll discuss what is open source, and then we'll be discussing GSoC, its facts and myths, the pros and cons of GSoCs, and this year some rules have been changed. So what's new in GSoC 2022? Some frequently asked questions on benefits and eligibility, and the beginner's roadmap to GSoC. Our experiences, like me and Shank will be discussing our experiences, and it will be followed by Q&A. So, what is open source? Open source is source code distributed under open source license, and anyone can study their code, modify, and improve this code and redistribute this code. And one of the main principles of open source is distributed software development. So this means planning, designing, building, testing, and implementing with people in different physical locations. One of the major things in open source is open collaboration. This means that anyone can join and collaborate if their aim matches with the organization. And some of the well-known open source softwares are Linux. It is a free and open source Unix-like kernel. It is a very important part on every Android device. The second is TensorFlow. It is an open source artificial intelligence library using data flow graphs to build models. And the third one, as we all know, is Python. It is a very popular programming language. And the fourth one is React.js. It is a JavaScript library for building user interface. So what exactly is GSoC? So GSoC is a mentorship program where people interested in learning more about open source are welcomed into open source communities by mentors ready to help them learn and grow. So the goal is to have new contributors stay involved in the open source communities long after the GSoC program is over. So in GSoC, Google basically selects the organizations, and organizations release their projects, and contributors apply for the projects released, and organizations select some of these contributors, and the selected contributors will work for some specific amount of time with this organization. So this is around a 12-week program. It is a 12 plus week program, like from 12 to 22-week program. And in GSoC, we basically write code, write the documentation of the code we have written, and we also help the other contributors and take help from them and build the product. Some things like what GSoC is not, like it is not a competitive examination like JEE or CAT, etc. So keep this in your mind while preparing for GSoC. And it is not an internship or job under Google. This is a very important point. Like a lot of people think that GSoC is a Google internship or a Google job. No, it's not. And generally, it's not even a research internship. We basically build or develop things in GSoC. And it is not a competitive coding contest like ICPC. And GSoC does not guarantee a future job prospect. Like earlier, 4 or 5 years back, GSoC selected students were given a referral for Google, but now they have stopped this. So this is a major misconception. So now let's go on to pros and cons of GSoC. During GSoC, you get to work on a real life project. You cannot get this experience very often. Like you can be working on a personal projects or a club projects and things like this, but working on a real and life project which people are using and a large code base is very rare. So you get an opportunity to work on it. And the second one is you get a good chance to sharpen your development skills. Like you will be, let's suppose you will be preparing for GSoC. So you will be working on development, you will be working on documenting the code and things like this. And suppose you are selected for GSoC, work more. And even if you are not selected, you can still continue to work with that open source organization. So you can still sharpen your development skills. And you can, let's suppose you don't know Node.js, and an organization uses Node.js. So you and you want to become a contributor in it. So you can just go and ask the maintainer. So you want to contribute. You can learn Node.js simultaneously and solve their issues. So you can learn new tech stacks through this. And GSoC is a really good addition to your resume. Let's suppose you are not selected for GSoC, but you have been contributing to some organization for some time. You can put that point in your resume also, and it adds to the value to the resume. So this is another thing. And in your interviews, it becomes a very excellent talking point. The interviewers will be curious to know what you did, what was the project, what your organization does, and things like this. And during GSoC, and not only during GSoC, during contributing to open source, you will be meeting a lot of people, and you will get a chance to network. You will get a lot of networking opportunities, and you can build a network here, and you'll obviously get a lot of stipend. It's around, I think, it's around 1 lakh if converted into rupees, and it's pretty great. It's pretty good. Yeah. Now let's come to the cons. So it's heavily at least for 6 months. Okay, so you have to put in a lot of effort, like 4 to 6 months for preparing for GSoC, and if you are selected, then you have to put in more 2 3 months, and then you can still continue contributing to the open source organization. And GSoC may have a negative impact effect on academics, but you can manage this. And GSoC is highly competitive. Like you may or may not be selected for GSoC, but what I think is that if you, even if you are not selected for GSoC, you are introduced to the open source world. You can still contribute to the open source organization, and you can continue contributions. And what GSoC does is that it leaves less time for other activities. But this year, Google has introduced some changes in GSoC, like for eligibility. Earlier, only university students or recent graduates were allowed to apply for GSoC, but now all the newcomers above the age of 18 are allowed. So yeah, this is the change in eligibility. Now comes the project size. In 2021, the project size was a medium-sized project. It took around 175 hours. But now, from now on, the organization and the contributor can choose which type of project do they plan, like a medium-sized project or a large-sized project, and this can vary from 175 hours to 350 hours. This was about the project size, and with the project size comes the project program duration. Like let's until now, it was a 12-week program, but now it's a 12-week program expandable up to 22 week, depending upon the organization and the contributor. Like if both say yes to extension, the program can be extended. Why to participate? So GSoC is a good learning experience. Like you get to learn a lot from technology, like communication skills and documenting code and networking. You get to learn these things, and again, you get to work on a large code base. Like the code base can be extremely large, and you also get help from people. Like if you are stuck somewhere, you need not worry about it. You can just ask these doubts on the public channels. So yeah, you can work on large code base. And for GSoC, even if you are not selected for GSoC, you are introduced to the open source world, and you can continue contributions. You get a real world experience, like you can be working on a project that real people are using, so you can have an idea as to how to work on a real world project. And distributed development, like you can be working from here, some other people can be working from a different country, and you can be collaborating and building network. That's one of the most important things. Now I'll call Shank to carry on.
Yeah, so hi, I hope you have been enjoying the session up till now. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. So I hope that you have been benefiting from this session up till now and will continue to do so in the upcoming slides. So hello everyone, my name is Shank Das and I did my Google Summer of Code 2021 project under the organization National Resource for Network Biology. So it is NRNB in short. So NRNB has been participating in GSoC for some around 15 years now. And even last year, we got some around 15 projects assigned to us, and like most of them were successfully completed. So NRNB has been into GSoC for quite a long time now. NRNB is an organization which works in the field of bioinformatics and computational biology. Even my project was related to computational biology, especially in the field of systems biology. So more about my experience, what my project was in the later part of the presentation. So for now, without wasting any time, let's move on to the other aspects of the agenda that we have planned for today for you guys. So let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen slides are visible to you all. In case of any issues, please feel free to write on the chat box. We'll handle it appropriately. Okay, so let's move on. Right, so one of the things that is important to know about preparing for GSoC is to know the things that actually matter. What are the prerequisites that you need, right? So in the things that do matter, one of them is, of course, a bit of knowledge about any popular programming language. So when I say a popular programming language, it means that any of the languages which is heavily used in these days in development, let's say Python or JavaScript, or maybe even C++, right? So these are the languages which are used extensively in industry, right? Maybe if you say that, okay, I know Visual Basic, then you might not go much far, because almost no, I don't think any industry today uses Visual Basic, right? And so that's why you need to know a popular programming language. If you know C from the computer programming course, well, you can easily catch up on C++ or even Python, right? So any language, even if you have some knowledge above basic level, then you are good to go, right? Apart from that, you need to know a bit about version control. When I say version control, it means knowledge of technologies like Git, GitHub, or GitLab. So these are the platforms and the technologies that all organizations these days use for managing their work, their workflow, to store the code somewhere. Like no one stores code on Google Drive. Everyone stores code or either on GitLab or GitHub or some other popular repository, right? Repository platform. So you need to know some things about this. Like even basic knowledge is fine in the beginning. You can always catch up on things later. Next comes some experience or a bit of knowledge about operating systems like Linux or maybe Mac OS. Both of them are like related, not completely the same, but yeah. One thing that I can say for sure is Windows perhaps won't help you a lot. Like most of the people, they have been in the habit or maybe in the trend of using Windows for every kind of work that they do. But maybe in the flow for GSoC or for your other developmental activities, perhaps moving to Linux or macOS will help you. There are a few reasons for this. One of them is that, let's say you face some error, okay, and then you want to search for a solution to that. Whenever you Google out the error, most of the solutions that you will find, they will be related to either Linux or macOS, whatever application you are using, right? Whatever thing that you want to do. Either the solution will be in Linux or maybe in some other OS, but mostly it will not be in Windows. Okay. So you have a large community supporting Linux, but not a very large community supporting Windows. So that is one reason that you can already start moving on to Linux. And migrating to Linux from Windows isn't a very huge task. It might seem intimidating at first, but as and when you get time, you can just practice and easily get into the flow. Right. So again, as Hardik already explained, that GSoC is an open source program, and open source program, what I believe is more than the code, it is more about people, right? So you need to definitely have good communication skills. If you are able to collaborate with people across the globe, if you are able to communicate your ideas, if you are able to understand their ideas with good communication skills, then it's for that you of course require good communication skills, and that will help you, right? So having good communication skills always helps in open source. Okay. Now some of the myths that people think that, okay, if I don't have a good CGPA, maybe I won't be able to get into GSoC. There are such myths. Such myths do exist, and so let's focus on such things that do not matter. So one of them, as I already said, well, CGPA doesn't matter. No one cares. Even a branch, any student from any branch can participate in GSoC, can get selected or accepted into GSoC if he or she has the required skills. Okay, skills related to coding, related to documentation. If they have those skills, they are good to go, right? Even a student from computer science can participate, a student from electrical engineering can participate, a student from biological sciences background can participate. So branch isn't a restriction, neither is CGPA. University doesn't really matter as long as you have the required skill set. And like, since you people are Bitsians, you again won't be facing any issues. Country, again, perhaps I shouldn't say about this now, as you will be seeing in a later slide. Country isn't a big deal for you guys. Again, association with the field of the project, it doesn't matter. Let's say that your project is related to computational biology or bioinformatics, and you are from a computer science background, or maybe from electrical engineering background. You don't have any background in biology, but it doesn't mean that you can't work on a project related to bioinformatics, right? This was the same case with me, but you can always pick up things along the way and always participate in projects that may not be completely related to your field of study, but later on you can always participate in those. So again, association with the field of the project isn't a barrier or a restriction. Okay, so just to talk about the university barrier, BITS doesn't face any issues generally, because BITS has always featured in the top 10 or top 12 universities in terms of the selection. So in 2021, that is the Pilani campus was on the 4th rank with 18 selections. So that's actually a good number. Okay, a few more fun facts that, as I said, that for you guys, country doesn't really matter, because India, at least for the last 5 years, it has always produced the highest number of accepted students. Even this year, it was in the top 12 institutes that in terms of highest number of selections, all were from India. And last year, BITS this year BITS was on 4th rank. And if I remember correctly, in 2017, BITS was second, I guess. Second only to IIT Roorkee. So maybe we can trust you guys that you will be taking us to rank 1 this time. And that is quite possible. Given the right efforts, it's quite possible. Right. So moving on to the GSoC timeline. So what Google does is, Google every year it produces a timeline which is generic for everyone. It isn't like student specific or org specific. It is general for everyone, which gives the basic timeline for GSoC starting from January, and it goes up till August or September. Right. So that is important, but what is more important from a student's perspective is that how to like target GSoC in a manner which helps them optimize their efforts as well as increase their chances of selection, right? So let's focus one by one on each of these milestones. So first and the most important perhaps is selecting an organization. So if you want to participate in GSoC, you need to participate under a project that has been publicized by an organization, right? So first and foremost, you have to select a proper organization that fits with your skill set, that fits with your interest. Okay, and this activity generally takes place. People mostly do this around from January to mid-February. People do start earlier, but again, it's not too late even now, right? So you can always start looking for an organization, quickly find the perfect organization for you and start contributing to it. So the next phase is to make contributions, and this should generally continue throughout. It isn't that you make contributions only just to get selected into GSoC. Open source, it's about contributing, right? So ideally, it should continue till April to optimize the chances of selection. But yeah, it should continue always, right? So when I say making contributions, it can be making contributions in the form of code, contributing documentation, or maybe even just discussing ideas with the organization. Basic thing is bottom line is that you need to make yourself visible in that organization, right? Now, after that comes the proposal writing period. So the proposal is what gets you selected into GSoC officially. Okay. Basically, whatever project you want to work on during the summer, you tell about how you will be planning that project, what all milestones you will be covering, and finally any ideas that you might have for that project. Okay. So those things you document in the proposal, and then you present it to the organization. And the organization selects the best proposals, or in other words, the best students, and these students are finally selected for the summer, right? So even after submitting the proposal, as I said, contributions should continue throughout. And like making contributions even after the proposal submission is what actually shows your sincerity. Now, once you have been selected into GSoC finally, then like things are much easier. So you start working on the project, you have meetings with your mentors, you discuss ideas, and you write code. And once the code has been completed, once the application or whatever milestone you were aiming for, that has been completed, it is submitted to the mentors for review. And if your project passes the mentors reviews, then of course you have successfully completed GSoC. And yeah, you already have a successful and a memorable summer, right? So those are the 6 milestones from a student's perspective, from a candidate's perspective. So let's now focus on each and every milestone in much more detail, right? So the first and foremost is selecting the organization, and this, I should say, is the most important and perhaps the most difficult of the milestones. Okay. So there are a few do's and don'ts. Let's focus on each one of them separately. So first thing is that there is only one resource and only one resource to get you started with selecting the organization, and that is the official GSoC organizations page. Okay. What you do is you go to the GSoC's website. There you can click on past programs, and they have listed all the programs: 2021 programs, 2020 program, 18, so on till when it first started. Okay. You go to, let's say, the most recent one, that is 2021 program, and they have listed all the organizations that got finally selected into GSoC 2021, right? You go to each and every, that is what I suggest. You should go to each and every organization and try to find which one is best for you. It shouldn't be like that you are targeting only C++ organizations, or you're targeting only organizations related to machine learning. And what you do is you put searches, right? You do Control+F, put in machine learning, and whatever results show up before you, you just click on them and study those. That shouldn't be. You should go through each and every organization. It will take time, but yeah, it is worth the time. Okay. Now, what you do is you go to each and every organization, read their introductions, read what all projects that they did last summer, what are their ideas for this summer, right? You should go through each and every one of them and choose that which organization fits the best for you. Okay. And generally people complain that, yeah, maybe I don't have organizations for related to app development. My forte is app development. There aren't enough number of organizations which work using C++. That's not the case generally. There are organizations working in almost every domain possible: education, healthcare, cyber security, machine learning, everything, right? So you just need to put in the right amount of time to find yourself the best organization that for you. Now, even the tech stack isn't a very big barrier. You will find organizations using almost each and every programming language possible. Of course, things like Visual Basic and maybe Fortran, those are out of the scope, right? Now, there are a few don'ts also that we have. These don'ts. I think someone has unmuted themselves. Please mute yourself. Right? Yeah. Any questions that you might have, please feel free to put on the chat box. Okay, so as I was saying, there are a few don'ts also. So these are the pitfalls that you should avoid. These were suggested to us by our seniors, were suggested by their seniors. So like, yeah, these have been warned against year after year. So one of them is that if you think that, yeah, I have I know only C++ or I know only Python. Please don't be rigid about that. Even if you know only one language, it is very easy to migrate to another one if you think that, yeah, the project at least aligns with your interest. Okay. So this happened with even me, that I wasn't very much into front-end development. My forte was back-end development using Python and Node.js, right? But yeah, the project that I found interesting was using Vue.js, which is a front-end framework. It was using Vue.js. I had literally no experience with Vue.js before. But yeah, at least I decided to give it a go. And in the process, what I did was I learned Vue.js, and I'm quite good at it now. So GSoC is a very good way to learn a new language, right? So this is how many people actually learn new tech stack. So please don't be rigid about the tech stack. Tech stack should never be a barrier for you to maybe reject an organization. Okay. Now there earlier what used to be that there used to be a search bar in that organizations page, and you could just put some keywords and it used to show you the organizations related to those keywords. This year I think they have removed that search bar, but yeah, people can always just do a control plus F to find the organizations related to. It is highly recommended against that. Why is it so? Because you will be missing out on a lot of important information. Let's say that you put in a keyword like machine learning. Maybe only those organizations will come up which have the word or machine learning in their description. Maybe there are some other organizations which do not explicitly work in the domain of machine learning, but you have already missed them out. Okay, so that is why I have said that please go through each and every organization on the page, at least those which somehow like to an extent align with your interest. Also, another thing is that please do not or organization scrapers. There are tons of organization scrapers out there. You just put in your keywords and it produces a list of all the organizations that match with those keywords. And again, the thing is that those scrapers aren't updated frequently. And again, the search algorithm that they use, it's like really buggy and very trivial. So you will be missing out on important stuff. So please don't take care of such points which you shouldn't do, right? Now, while we were preparing for our GSoC, we used to follow a simple algorithm for finding the best organization for ourselves. So that I have presented to you in the form of a flowchart. So let's say that you take an example, take a name to get selected into GSoC this year. So that's a really good decision. And so the first step is to search for an organization. So let's say that you go to the organizations page. You find an organization that seems to be aligning with your interest. The name seems good. Okay. And then you move to the next step, that you start looking through the project ideas and the past year projects. You might also want to take a look at the organization description. But it might happen that, yeah, the organization doesn't seem to align with your interest at all. Maybe you are someone who is into web development and the organization works in game development. Maybe in that case, you might not want to move ahead with that. You should then move on to the next organization. But yeah, if it somehow aligns with your interest, please move on to the next step. And that is to install the code base and to play around with it. So the organization will be having a GitHub account or a GitLab account, and they have many of the projects listed there. Install the code base, install the projects repositories, and try to look or study how the code looks. Are you able to make any sense out of the code? If required, please go through the documentation. If you're able to make some sense, well, yeah, that's a good sign. But yeah, again, it might be possible that, yeah, the tech stack doesn't align with you anyhow. Like, it might be possible that you are into app development, you only know Dart, but yeah, the tech stack for this is something like maybe pure JS, okay, which isn't maybe Vue.js or some other JavaScript front-end framework. It might not be relevant to you, or it might be Unity. You might not be aligning with that tech stack. It is better to move on to the next organization, right? So that is why I've created a loop here. Okay. Now, but yeah, it may be also possible that you are facing problems in installing the code base. You are facing problems in installing the project. In that case, it might be possible that perhaps you won't be able to fix it if you put in more effort, right? So if you are facing problems in installation for more than a week, please move on to the next organization. That organization is perhaps not made for you. Now, let's say that everything has been going on well up till now. And so what you do is you start making contributions to the organization. as I said before, contributions can be in the form of code or in the documentation, or maybe in the form of ideas. So what you do is you put in, you start solving trivial and small issues on the organization's pages. Solving issues means you try to fix minor bugs, or maybe suggest new features, and maybe even implement them, right? So these are the next steps that you do. But again, you might have pitfalls here. It might be possible that yeah, you are not able to fit in with the other developers. The other developers, they aren't able to understand your ideas, or they are maybe not accepting your ideas. You don't find the community very well, community very good, right? So in that case, again, the best decision is to move on to some other organization. So that's why I am saying that the organization selection phase is the most important and the most time taking phase, because it is just not a one time process that you just go to the organization's page, make a complete search of all the organizations, you don't find anything, then maybe there isn't anything for this in store for you this year. No, organization selection phase is an iterative process. You might have to go over the page tens or maybe even 20, 30 times to find the final best organization for you. Okay, so that is why I'm saying, please put in enough time into this process. If you have put in enough time into this organization selection page, organization selection phase, then you are good to go. If you have seen that everything has been going good up till now, you are able to contribute code, you are able to fit in well with the organization, perhaps this is the organization that you should apply for the upcoming season of GSoC. Right, so that is how the entire process works from a beginner's perspective, right? Other people might have other perspectives on this phase, but yeah, again, whatever seems good to you. Okay, so there are a few more pitfalls that I would like to warn you against at this very first stage. So one of them is that please do not give up on an organization at the very start of your exploration. Like, you have just been into the organization for 2 to 3 days, you could find anything meaningful out of the code base, and so you just left it. No, please don't do that. Give it some time. You might take some time to understand the code base. You might take some time to make sense out of things. But if you're given enough time and enough sincerity into the work, you will finally be able to understand whatever the organization is trying to say. Right, so it is just similar to dumping into a sea right from a chopper, and then you are not able to find your way out of the place, right? But given enough time, you will be able to do so. Again, if you are not having any progress with the organization, even after a week or after 2 weeks, you're facing installation problems, or maybe you're not finding it good, then please move on to the next organization. Maybe that organization is not the right fit for you. Again, you should avoid organizations which have been introduced just 1 or 2 seasons before, right? Why I'm saying this is that because these organizations, their future is quite dicey. It might happen that last time they were selected for the first time, and this year they are not selected, right? In that case, what happens that you have invested a lot of time into the organization, everything was going well, but suddenly in the first week of March, Google releases the list of accepted organizations, and your organization isn't there, right? So you've already wasted a lot of time. You won't be able to perhaps participate this year because you won't be able to find a new organization in such a short time now, right? You perhaps have already missed the bus. So it's better not to invest your time in organizations which were introduced just 1 or 2 seasons ago. Also, you should avoid organizations which have very few accepted students. Let's say around 2 to 4. Some organizations do exist like these. So the competition is very high there, and maybe your chances of selection into that organization are slim, right? So perhaps you would like to avoid those organizations. Again, you should avoid organizations which have like quite high restrictions in terms of students. And there are a few organizations which I would like to name here, which maybe you might want to avoid. Why I'm saying this, I'll be explaining. Right, so one of them is Linux, maybe even LLVM. These organizations you might want to avoid. GNU and its associated organizations you might want to avoid. Python, again, Python is another organization which is highly competitive. It is a good organization. You might know Python inside out well, but to finally contribute code to it is a difficult task, and to get selected into GSoC with Python is again difficult because the competition is very high. Linux, again, if I remember correctly, Linux was the organization, it has high affinity for people who are from PhD or MTech background, right? So they generally don't want to take students from undergraduate background. So perhaps you have less chances of selection into Linux. So these are the organizations, these are some of the things that you should be aware of, and maybe you should invest your time wisely in the correct organization, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't give them a go, but again, your chances for selection might be slim since you are just an undergrad level, right? But again, Linux, GNU, these are like excellent organizations. If you are able to get selected into these, perhaps you are actually talented. Right. So, okay, yeah. So as I was saying that sometimes people do complain that we don't have organizations related to our tech stack or related to our field of interest. Well, that is not very correct. So here I've listed a few organizations classified according to their domain and maybe some even through their tech stacks, right? So you might want to go through them. But again, what I would want to reiterate is that this list is not exhaustive, neither is it exclusive. Okay, what you should do is you should actually go to each of the organization's page and look for the best organization for you, right? So let me just go through one or two of them. Let's say that NRNB is one of the organizations which works in the bioinformatics field, but yeah, it uses a variety of tech stack for that. Okay, so I've listed it under miscellaneous. CERN is a research lab, the famous CERN lab, and so even that participates in GSoC, and it's a really good organization to participate in. OBF stands for Open Bioinformatics Foundation. So that is again one of the most popular organizations that students do target. Apache, Dart, these are organizations which are heavily sought after in the app development field. And again, like TensorFlow, OpenCV, like people into machine learning will be knowing about these things. And yeah, they do participate in GSoC. Right. So the next step is actually making contributions. So I've been talking about making contributions all this time. So what is actually making contributions? So there are a few do's and don'ts here as well. So what you do is you should start with solving small and easy issues. That will help you to get a head start in the organization, as well as it will help you to gain confidence. And each of these organizations has beginner friendly issues tagged in their issue tracker, right? So you should give some time to that, and perhaps you'll be able to find a way out of the maybe the forest that we are talking about, right? Next step is that you should thoroughly go through the organization's contributing guidelines. Every organization maintains their contribution guidelines. If you are not following that, then you are in trouble, right? You are not following the standards for making for writing comments. You are not following the standards for making commit messages. The organization owners might get irritated with you, right? So please go through the contribution guidelines thoroughly. Also, you should ensure that your code complies with the standards, the linting, and the tests that the organization follow. Okay, one of the things that is quite important is that you should not hesitate to ask questions. Open source, as I said, is all about more about the people rather than the code. So people are always there to help you. They are most eager to help you out, right? So it's better to ask them questions rather to get started cluelessly on any code or any feature that you might be trying to implement. Also, you should try to stay active on the discussions in the organization stack. Most organizations, what they do is they maintain a chat server, maybe on Discord or Slack or Rocket Chat or Zulip, right? So you should join that. It isn't that only the organization members can join it. Anyone can join it and participate. So the more you make yourself visible in the organization, the more are your chances of getting accepted with that organization in GSoC. Okay, so moving on to the don'ts. Again, you should make only quality contributions to the organization's repository. Avoid redundant PRs, avoid PRs which don't make sense, which are buggy. Please don't do that. Also, please take special care that you do not mess up in the version control. If you are messing up in the version control, that you are not resolving merge conflicts, you're detaching branch heads. In that case, you are basically interfering with the organization's workflow. and that is bound to irritate people, right? So please don't do that. It's better to learn version control before jumping onto code. Okay, even the basics would do. Again, you should not repeatedly tag repository owners or other developers on the issues or issues that you might be trying to solve. So open source contributors, they are busy all day long. Some even have other part-time jobs apart from this. So everyone is busy, right? And they might not be able to look into your code all the time. So everyone is important in open source, but no one is more important, right? So please give it some time. Eventually, everyone will come on to your suggestions. Again, the most important thing that I would say here is, please never ever lie to the organization owners or the developers under any circumstance. Even if you are not able to fulfill your commitments, if you are not able to meet the deadlines, like you can just politely and honestly confess to them, and they would be most eager to give you an extension. But yeah, if you lie to them, you are just bluffing around, and they somehow find it out that yeah, you have been just lying to them all the time. Perhaps it's game over for you, right? They won't be eager to have any communications with you further. So it's better never to lie, right? Open source is more about trusting people, so please do not lie, right? Okay, so a few resources or good practices that you should follow while making contributions. Again, every organization has contribution guidelines that you should go through. Language and technology, whatever tech stack you're using, you should follow the official documentation rather than just going around in random tutorials. Again, very important that you do not use plagiarized code, either pick up from Stack Overflow or from other resources. Organizations have a strict policy against plagiarism. And if you want to learn about version control like Git or GitHub, you can please go through these documentations that they have. And for version control using Git, there is a very good book by O'Reilly Publishers here, which you can buy and go through it, right? Apart from GSoC, there are other open source programs as well, which are like quite in conversations these days. So one of them is Facebook Major League Hacking. It's like we have Summer of Code sponsored by GSoC. Major League Hacking is the one which we go through, which we have from Facebook. Okay, and it's like equally popular as GSoC. Then there is the Outreachy program, the Google Season of Docs. Like we have the Google Summer of Code, we have Google Season of Docs. Docs is about documentation. We also have Girl Script Summer of Code. We have Girl Script Winter of Code, Winter of Contribution. So this is conducted by Girl Script organization and is a really good platform for beginners, right? You can always start your journey from here. IBM also conducts a program called Call for Code. It isn't a program like GSoC, it is more like a hackathon. But yeah, again, it's a very great place to hone your skills and again to contribute to the community. So these are other programs that you can even participate in, apart from GSoC. Right, so we have been talking about things related to the best practice and a lot of other things, but perhaps this talk will remain a bit incomplete if we do not share our experiences. So experiences is what the mistakes that we made, the mistakes from which we learned, the good memories that we made in GSoC, and perhaps we'll be most happy to share it with you all. So perhaps I'll start with mine. So as I said, my GSoC this summer was spent under National Resource for Network Biology, and my project's title was Sbml for Humans, and it is an interactive Sbml report created for humans. What is Sbml and all? I'll just come to it. So my mentor was Dr. Matthias Koenig. He is a professor in the computational biology department at Humboldt University, Berlin. So Humboldt University is, I guess, the third best ranked university in Germany these days. And like, he's one of the best persons that I met up till now. And like, he has been the most supportive person throughout the program, right? So my project was under the domain of web technologies and bioinformatics, of course. The tech stack that I used was Python for the backend, and the front end was developed using a Vue.js, using the Vue.js framework. So the final outcome that my project was to develop a web application for creating reports of Sbml files. Right? What is Sbml files? In a few minutes. Right. So we had to create a web application, and the front end, as I said, was created using Vue.js, and the backend was served using Python. And if you want to take a look at my project, you can just visit this link here. We'll be making these slides available to you. So whatever links are present, they will be accessible to you all. Right. So moving on to the beginnings of the project. Actually, when I was preparing for my GSoC, I started preparation around sometime in September 1st. That is when I was trying to make contributions to organization interesting, right? So there I've tried into multiple organizations, and as and when time permitted, exams were quite frequent in that time, because we had the 3 test system that time. So yeah, the timetable was quite hectic for every one of us. So as and when time permitted, I used to revisit the process of finding organizations, making contributions to them. But yeah, seriously, I started searching, and in a very structured manner, I started searching for organizations only in December. That is after the compres, right? So initially I started with 2 organizations. One of them was MyForce. MyForce unfortunately was not selected this year, right? And like as I said, if you find that yeah, you are not able to fit in with the organization, perhaps you should move on to some other organization. Like so, in MyForce, I was able to make a patch for a major issue. I made a pull request. Even the organization or org owners even approved it. And in the process, I also learned Angular, because the tech stack they used was Angular. Right. So I learned Angular in the process. But yeah, once I found out that the organization is not very fast in responses, or maybe it's not finding a good time, I'm not having a good time in the organization, I decided to move on to some other organization. I won't name the second organization, because like I struggled more with its code base, but yeah, finally I was able to get hang of the things. But the problem that I faced here was that I did not find the organization very friendly. I was not able to fit in with the organization. The other developers weren't able to understand what I was explaining, or maybe I wasn't able to reciprocate with their ideas. The summary is that I wasn't able to fit in with the organization. So I decided that perhaps I shouldn't waste my time here. Maybe moving on to some other organization will help me. Right. So finally, around in January, I was still continuing with the process. And finally, like just as I'd say good luck, maybe I found this organization called NRNB. Initially, even I was intimidated after seeing things like computational biology and all. But again, I decided to give it a go. I found 2 projects actually interesting there. One of them was by Dr. Koenig, and the other one was by one of the org owners, right? So I commented my interest to in both of these issues. Like what NRNB does, it maintains a GitHub page for all these issues, right? And in these issues, they have mentioned their project ideas. So I mentioned about my interest in those projects on the issue page. I just put a simple comment there and then waited for the response. My comment was simple. It wasn't very long. What I mentioned was that I am quite interested in working on this project. What are my skills that align with this project? And also I put a link to my personal website, so that in case they want to get a glimpse of what my background is, why I should be allowed to work on this project, they can always do so by visiting my personal website. And perhaps this is what actually impressed my mentor, that yeah, the things that I learned from your website, they were really good. Your skill set really aligns with this, and perhaps that's what impressed him. Right. So this is one thing that I would suggest to each one of you, is that if you already don't have a personal website, let's say a personal website isn't something very fancy. It should just mention your skill set, your project, your previous projects. It should be a reflection of you in the form of code, right? Anyone can visit that page and they can learn about you. Like we have LinkedIn pages, we should also have a personal web page, right? If you don't have a personal web page already, please create one. It won't take you much time. You can even pick up ready-made templates to get your website created, and then you can always upload it to GitHub pages. You can just GitHub Google out the process, and you're good to go. But yeah, having a personal website always helps. And finally, luckily, after 5 days, my mentor was kind enough to reply on the comment. He found out about me, and he replied that yeah, even I am interested to work with you. Right. So this was the comment. I'm not very sure if you are able to read it or understand what is written. So this is what I mentioned. It was really simple. I just mentioned about my interest, my skill set, and put a link to my website. So whatever information that he requires about me, he can always find it. And yeah, he replied it that, okay, yeah, your profile looks really good. Let's work. Right. So again, as I said that Dr. Koenig was one of the best persons that I've met through this process. Like I would say that I got selected into GSoC. I successfully completed GSoC only and only because of him. Right. So I was lucky to have such a mentor. So he initially, since he's a professor, he of course knows what is the best way to get a student started onto something. So initially gave me reading material to familiarize myself with Sbml. So yeah, I've been speaking about Sbml. What is Sbml? To put it into very simple words, we have HTML for creating web pages, right? We have XML for creating user interfaces. Like earlier, Android used to do that. It used XML for creating the user interfaces. Similarly, we have Sbml. Sbml stands for Systems Biology Markup Language. So what it does is, let's say that you want to represent some biological model in the form of code. Then you would be using Sbml. Let's say that I want to model my stomach, right? So I will be using Sbml for that. I will be using Sbml for the representation. I want to model the reactions taking place inside the stomach. I will be using Sbml to model that, right? So Sbml is basically HTML for biological models, if you want to visualize it in that manner, right? So he gave me reading material. Some of them were even research papers to give me a better understanding of the things. And I initially found it a bit difficult, but yeah, later on I was able to pick up things really fast. And again, my diligence, my speed, again impressed him a lot. Now, later he asked me that, okay, now we can perhaps start focusing on the code. And so I started solving very trivial issues first on the repository. And the contributions that we have made to the organization before applying to GSoC, that does matter, right? As I said, the more number of contributions you have, perhaps the more are your chances of selection. Okay, so I quickly created a rapport with my mentor, and I started solving trivial issues. So even yeah, I did make mistakes. I actually made a very big blunder in the version control. But yeah, Dr. Koenig was really good. He was really supportive. He pointed out to me all the mistakes that I made and also pointed out solutions to me. So yeah, he was really like a teacher to me there. So slowly I started solving more issues, and finally I got around some 11 pull requests merged finally into the repository. So that actually increased my chances of selection a lot. And by the end of the time, I was also able to create a rough prototype of the thing. Okay, what is PR here? PR is pull request. Pull request is basically a contribution, right? On GitHub, we say that, okay, I have made a pull request. I have made contribution to the repository. Okay, pull request is it encapsulates all your code that you want to contribute to the repository, and you make a pull request. If your pull request is merged, that means the code that you have contributed, it is merged into the repository. Okay. Okay. Finally, I also had a blog. Right now, this blog writing process comes generally during GSoC, right? Like during the summer. Once you have got selected into the organization, then you start maintaining a blog. But what Dr. Koenig suggested to me, he said that perhaps you can start maintaining a blog from right now, right? And that actually will increase your chances of selection. It shows your sincerity. I did that, and again, yeah, I reaped the benefits. So it would be perhaps the most difficult issue to solve ever. The first issue that I solved was to fix the link on the repository. So yeah, of course, very difficult. So that got me started, and I finally was able to merge 11 pull requests into the repository. Okay, so then came the proposal writing period. So again, proposal writing phase is something which differs from org to org, and again from mentor to mentor. The best way to write a proposal would be to be in constant touch with your mentor, to take inputs from them, to give your ideas, and finally put it into words. So yeah, again, it is one of the most important things in NRNB. At least NRNB focuses a lot on the quality of the proposal. Maybe your previous contributions might not matter a lot, but yeah, your proposal does matter a lot. So yeah, we took over a month to complete the proposal. around after the organizations got announced, NRNB got accepted, we started writing the proposal in the second week of March, and it went on till the last day before submission. And again, Dr. Koenig was most helpful. Like most mentors, they do help out in writing the proposal, but yeah, Dr. Koenig was the one who always took the extra, went the extra mile to help me out. So we had meetings, we had daily conversations over Google Meet, or maybe even in the Google Docs and emails. So yeah, it was his inputs that helped me to write a proper proposal. And we paid a lot of attention to detail, even the crispness and the length of the proposal. And yeah, even formatting. We used a lot of formatting constructs. We introduced diagrams, Gantt charts. So we always went the extra mile to make our proposal stand out from the others. And if you want to take a look at my proposal, you can find it here. And yeah, just to mention that my proposal was finally ranked 3rd in the list of all the proposals that was submitted to NRNB. So of course we had 15 slots for the projects, but yeah, I was well ahead of the others, right? So I was 3rd, and yeah, even though I was 3rd, but yeah, we had got the highest marks for the proposals during that phase. Okay, so finally getting accepted was again very, very special. So we received this mail from Google that your proposal has been accepted. And again, all the credits that I should say goes to my mentor. So fine, next I got added to the labs. He maintains a Slack group for his research lab. I got added to that Slack group, introduced myself to the rest of the people, and got accepted really well with them. Now, then we started working on setting up the project and setting up small things for the upcoming weeks. Again, I could not celebrate much because we were having compres during that time, so I had to deliberate whether to celebrate or to study for compres. And finally, we also had an intro meeting with the entire NRNB organization, and it was a really fun session. We were meeting people from all around the world. We were having a fun time chatting with each other. So yeah, that meeting was really special. Okay, so next we finally dived into the summer, and that is, we worked around 6 days a week. Monday to Thursdays, I worked on the code. I wrote code, whatever features had to be implemented, I did that. Fridays, we used to have meetings. So he used to connect, and I used to connect over Google Meet, and we reviewed the progress. He used to suggest improvisations over the already implemented features. We also used to fix minor bugs. And finally, yeah, almost every session we used to curse JavaScript because neither of us like JavaScript. Again, so Saturdays, I used to fix up the minor issues from the last week, and Sunday was generally rest for me. And again, thanks to Euro Cup and Copa America that was taking place that time, that I was always in good spirits. Now, the outcomes of this project was that I learned a lot of lessons, actually. I became a better programmer, a more structured programmer. Writing code for your university project or writing code for your club is much different than writing code for industry. Industry is more structured. Industry demands a lot more time from you and a lot more discipline from you. So that is what I learned here, and that was the lessons that I learned were more than any project that I had done in the past. Okay. Again, I got new tech stacks added to my profile, Vue.js, even things related to API management, I could add them to my profile. And again, GSoC also helped me a lot in my internship interviews. They became a really good talking point. I was able to explain my project really well, and it actually impressed my interviewers about the project that I had done. It actually impressed them. So even that increased my chances of getting selected for the summer internship. Now, above all, I would say that, yeah, I enjoyed myself a lot. The entire process was very, very enjoyable. And actually, I was also a bit sad when GSoC finally came to an end on 23rd August. I was a bit sad that, yeah, the process is now over. Maybe I won't be able to work. But yeah, I was able to work again up till, I guess, till October. We were constantly adding new features to the project. So again, we were able to enjoy those days again once more. And like no amount of words can express my gratitude for Dr. Koenig. Like, he was the most helpful person during the summer. and I'm still in touch with him. Thanks to NRNB for giving me a great summer. Finally, a bit of flex. This is my Google Summer of Code completion certificate, and yeah, it ain't much work, but it's honest work. Right. So now I'd like to invite Hardik to present his experience.
Yeah, just a second. So yeah, hello everyone again. I did my GSoC under the OPIA Foundation. The title of my project was Make Backend Code Type. My mentors were Sajal and Volta. The aim of OPIA is to provide free education. OPIA is an online learning platform, and its aim is to provide free and accessible information to all. The tech stack of OPIA is Python and Angular. So you can see the final project outcome link in the link below. I started off with my organization search in January. Like I was thinking to start searching for my organizations from October, November, but I was postponing it, and I started it in January. So then I found four orgs. First one, I won't name it. I did the setup, joined their public channels, started working on an issue. But when I was stuck somewhere, I tried to get help from the community, but the community was not that active, and I had to wait a lot for replies, and some of my doubts were still not being resolved. So I gave up and tried another org, and I won't name it too. I had a problem in setup, tried for a couple of days, and then gave up. Like the setup was not very easy, so I just gave up. Now I tried the org SpeedX, set up the SpeedX online tools repository. I joined the public channels, had talked with the maintainers, and I got myself assigned an issue, made one PR for it, and got it merged. And now comes the OPIA Foundation. So yeah, so I joined OPIA's mailing list and GitHub channel. Went through their contributing guidelines, and OPIA also has a new contributor form. Like if anyone wants to get started off with contributing to OPIA, you have to fill a form, and after you fill a form, you get a mail. You get a mail, and you get yourself a mentor assigned, and he suggests you some issues to get yourself started with based on your skill set. Then I tried of setting up the OPIA web code base, and it was pretty easy. It was not that hard, and I loved their idea. Like OPIA's idea is to provide free and accessible education to all, and I love their idea. And one of the most important things about an open source organization is the community, and OPIA's community is very great. Like a lot of people are in the community; they help each other out. There are a lot of meetings, and we discuss a lot of things, and it has a very good community. As I got myself a mentor assigned, he suggested me some issues. I started working on them, and got myself assigned an issue. Uh, Fast forward, I got two PRs merged. Both of them are basic. Like one was just changing the function name and all its instances, and second one was documentation change. And what OPIA does is that after a contributor has merged two PRs, uh, they uh, they have a lot of teams like data and stability team, the front end team, the testing team, and you may get a mail from one of these teams based on your skill set to be a part of the team. So I got a mail from OPIA's data and stability team, and what this team does is that it focuses on the backend backend and the data side of the OPIA web code base. And what we do in the meetings, like we had two meetings per week. We worked on multiple issues that were there in the backend. And when I was there, we were working on the migration from Python 2 to Python 3. So I was working on that too. In the meetings, we discussed what we were going to do, what we did in the past 3 4 days, and what we are stuck with, and we discussed this. And before the GSoC coding period, I was able to merge around 10 to 11 PRs. Like I didn't stop after writing the proposal. Like I was still contributing after submitting my proposal, and it's very important to keep your contributions continuous. Like you cannot stop contributing after you have submitted your proposal. This shows your sincerity. Yeah. So then comes the proposal writing period. So OPIA got selected as GSoC organization, and one of the main things about getting selected in GSoC is the proposal. A lot of things depend on a proposal. There are some prerequisites of some organizations like OPIA. OPIA has a prerequisite that you should have merged 2 PRs. But I had around 5 to 6 merged till then, so yeah, it was fine. Then I started writing my proposal on 16th March, and I was working on it. And then I got to know that a couple of very good developers were also applying for this project. One was an ex-PTM engineer who was doing MS from Canada. So this will surely decrease my chances of getting selected. So I realized that I should go for another proposal. I should go for multiple proposals. So what I did was I picked up another project in Dopia on the backend itself, from the backend itself, and I started writing proposals for 2 projects. So point about multiple proposals, avoid making proposals for different orgs. Let's suppose you plan to make multiple proposals, but don't plan to make proposals from different orgs. All your proposals should be for the same organization. You cannot it's very hard to make a proposal from one code base and then switch over to the another code base. So yeah, it makes it hard. And for multiple proposals, I would say it is not, there is no surety that it will increase your chances. It is better to create one quality proposal than multiple mediocre proposals. So if you think that you can make multiple quality proposals, then go for it. But if you think that you will not be able to make multiple quality proposals, just stick to one project and prepare for it. So while I was in my proposal writing period, I had two projects, right? So I worked on a proposal for 3 to 4 days, and pinged my mentors for review. There were 2 mentors, so I pinged both of them for reviews. Till when they reviewed my one proposal, I was working on another proposal simultaneously. So this saved me from waiting for their reviews. And it is very important to get your proposals reviewed regularly. You cannot wait for the end moment to get your proposals reviewed. The reason being that you get to know what the mentor actually needs. Let's suppose what you think is right must not be what the mentor thinks. So if you try to write a proposal for something, but mentor thinks the other way around, you won't be selected. So try to keep a proposal in line with what the mentor thinks. And what this regular review does, that it prevents you from going in the wrong direction, and it keeps you on the right track. So yeah, and then I got selected, and this is a mail we get from GSoC. And actually, I was not selected for the first project I started off with. Neither was that Paytm guy. There was a third guy who was selected for the first project, and I was selected for the second project. And initially, before the coding period starts, we have around 7 to 10 days. So during these days, we had a meeting with GSoC OPIA students. OPIA has around 17 to 18 slots. So all the OPIA students had a meeting, and we discussed about our hobbies and what we do. And I also had a meet with both my mentors, and we planned as to how we'll be spending our coding period, what will be the milestones and things like this. So yeah, then the coding period started. So I had 2 meetings per week in which we discussed doubts where I'm stuck, and discussed what I've done in the past 3-4 days and planned my future work. But this was not very smooth. I had some conflicts with my mentor, and it's not very common, but I had some conflicts with my mentor. And you cannot go against your mentor, right? He's the one who's going to pass or fail you. Yeah. So what I did was I reached out to the GSoC org admin. There is an organization admin, and there is also a GSoC organization admin who manages all the GSoC operations in the organization. So I reached out to them, talked about the conflicts with them, and then we had a meeting together, and then we sorted the conflict, and it was great. And during this coding period, I not only worked on my project, I also helped other contributors, and took help from others. Like, there was one feature which I implemented, but I needed to be tested on Mac, so I took help from somebody else. And in Opia, we release our updates monthly. So before the monthly release, there is a proper QA testing. So I took part in the QA testing also. And at the near the end of the coding period, GSoC OPIA students are supposed to present their work to the GSoC OPIA community. So I did this too. And the outcomes, I learned a lot. In GSoC, I had very strict deadlines. I had to complete a lot of work before the monthly releases. So I learned to work with strict deadlines, and I side by side did my coding, and side by side made wiki pages for what I did. Like, I documented all my code, and this learning experience helped me a lot in my internship interviews, and it was a great experience. Like, it was a very great experience, and yeah, finally I did it. I was accepted, and my GSoC ended successfully. And thank you, everyone. We will be having a Q&A session now, and you can reach out to me or Shank on these. We have our mail IDs and LinkedIn accounts and mobile numbers here. We would prefer that you can text us, no calls, please, and we'll be going on to the Q&A session. Over to you, Shank.
Yeah, so for the Q&A session, we already have a few questions posted to us using the form that we had floated before. So we'll be answering your questions from that form first. So one of the questions that we have already received is, what is the right time to start preparation? So again, the answer varies from person to person. Perhaps the most optimal time is to start now, because all your exams are over. You do have some time. Even if the next semester starts, the semester won't be that hectic during the initial few weeks. So this is the right time to start searching for an organization, uh, making contributions. And so maybe now is the optimal time. You can always start now. People also start before, but as I said before, that it's not too late even now. Then another, let me just share these responses, so that even you people are able to see those. Just a second. Okay, I hope that responses are visible. So yeah, I've already answered what is the right time to start preparation. I know the basics of C++. What should be my procedure to crack GSoC? Again,
No cracks, please.
no cracks, please. First of all, yeah, that's one thing, that you don't crack GSoC. GSoC isn't a competitive examination like UPSC. You get accepted for GSoC. That's the spirit. Okay, so if you know the basics of C++, maybe you can start looking for organizations that work in C++. One of them is Boost. Boost works on developing C++ libraries. Maybe if you know C++, you might also want to move on to some other language which is more used in the organizations participating in GSoC, and maybe something like Python or JavaScript. So, and migrating to some other language is not very difficult. Okay, but again, yeah, there always exist organizations for C++. Hardik, would you like to take the next one?
What is the next one?
Oh yeah, I'm 17 years old and the GSoC 2022.
You cannot actually be part of GSoC now. You can apply for GSoC next year, but what you can do is that you can start contributing to some organizations from now on and be a part of it. Like, contributing to open source without GSoC is itself a good learning opportunity.
Again, they say that is it worth trying for GSoC in your first year? I would say that GSoC trying for GSoC in the first year is the best time to
Yeah,
try
it's the
for it.
best time.
Why do I say that? Is that because in first year you have more time to invest in such things. Second year onwards, you will have courses related more to your department, and so things start becoming a bit difficult. First year, in the first year, you can at least give it a good try. Even if you are not able to make it finally, you already have a really good knowledge to get a head start in the next year. That is during your second or maybe even in your third year. Also, another advantage is that if you are fortunate enough to get selected into GSoC in your very first year, one person from Coding Club actually did that last year. His name is Hardik Jain. He got selected into GSoC in his very first year. If you're able to do so, then you have a lot of time in your second year, right? You might want to invest time in preparation for summer internships or maybe do some other project. In that case, your these other activities won't overlap with your GSoC project, right? So you will have a lot of time to explore other things as well. Um, Hardik, would you like to take the next one? How to gauge a level of coding and that which will be required for GSoC?
Uh, like yes, a beginner can get selected for GSoC. Like you should know basic level of programming, and then when you start contributing to an organization, you will build your skill set, and you will build your skill set in the line with your organization, and you can get selected for GSoC.
What prerequisite skills are required for GSoC? I think we have already answered this in the slides and in the
Yeah.
talk. I'm beginning with DSA and have made some advancement. When should I start with GSoC? Okay, so one thing that I can say for sure is that DSA perhaps won't help you a lot in GSoC. DSA is something else, GSoC is something else. Again, DSA will help you in programming, but not a lot in GSoC, right? So DSA, perhaps what you are talking about is maybe algorithms and things like learning about trees, graphs. Perhaps they won't be very much helpful in GSoC. So maybe if you are more targeting, like determined about the internship season, perhaps you would like to continue with DSA and keep GSoC for later. But yeah, this is not true that I've been advised not to learn DSA and development together. This is not true. You can always do it together, and most of the people do that only. That they have been learning DSA as well as development together, and they were also able to get selected in GSoC.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says that I'm a third year dualite and I will be having summer intern season this year. So if I get into GSoC, will I get enough time to prepare for SIs? For the situation that you have in your third year, me and Hardik, we had it in our second year. So we were having our GSoC project during the summer as well as we were preparing for our SI season, right? So it is quite possible, only that you will be having a very, very hectic summer. So both of us, we had a very hectic summer this time. But somehow we were also able to prepare for our SIs as well as complete our GSoC project successfully.
Yeah.
So it is possible. It just requires more efforts from you.
Yeah, and now there is an option between choosing a medium-sized project and large-sized project. If you want to prepare for internship season, I would suggest you to look for medium-sized projects. Like talk to the mentor beforehand.
Yeah, but you can always go for a medium-sized project rather than going for a large-sized project if you are also focused about the summer intern. But yeah, it's possible to do both simultaneously. How to write an effective proposal? I think we have answered all these in the slides already.
And your proposal structure depends a lot on what your organization expects and what your mentor expects. So keep in touch with them, to be in touch with them.
Without any prior knowledge of coding and only with basics of C language, is it possible to participate in GSoC? Perhaps only C won't help you, the ones that you have learned in the computer programming course. That level might not help you. But yeah, if you know C, maybe you can learn C++ or Python or get started with some tech stack like starting with web development. But yeah, if you know at least the basics of programming, then it won't be very difficult to migrate to some other language or to some other tech stack.
We missed the question. Does past done projects help in increasing chances of getting selected in GSoC? Like
Okay, okay.
uh, if you have done projects in the past, the only way it can benefit in GSoC is they have developed your skill set. The mentor and the organizations will not go through your past projects. They only build your skills, and this is the only way they can help in GSoC.
Okay, so how should an electrical engineering student approach coding and computer science? Perhaps it is not very relevant to the topic here, but it doesn't really matter from branch to branch. Anyone can get started with programming. You just need to have access to the correct resources and just give correct time, the right amount of time to it. So there are tons of resources available over the internet. One of the best resources is perhaps Geeks for Geeks to at least get you started with the basics, and there onwards you can always choose a line for yourself. Is it recommended to learn web development or app development before learning coding?
Uh,
And then only then you will be able to do web development or app development. So web development and app development are subsets of the big thing called coding. So you can start with either one of them. Like both of them are quite famous in the industry. So and even for GSoC, both of them are quite accepted. Anyone, whatever aligns with your interest, you may start with that. Hardik, would you take the next one?
Yeah. So I myself have not tried using Linux on VMware, but what I have heard is that the experience is not as up to the mark as, what do we say, the dual booted system or Ubuntu without the VMware. I would recommend you to dual boot have Windows, or if you have Macs, no problem with that.
As someone who has no experience in dev or GitHub profile and only knows C++ or Python via competitive programming, is it realistic to target GSoC in 2022? Or would you advise to learn dev first and then go for GSoC in preceding years? See, if you know C++ or Python, then you're already ahead in the path, because the knowledge of a programming language is important first. Either you use it for competitive programming or for developing applications. The knowledge of a programming language is important. What you can perhaps do is, even if you're still trying for GSoC, what you can do is you can start learning some development field, let's say web development, for instance. You can do that using Python. And like learning front-end frameworks is as easy as learning the back-end frameworks. So maybe you can give it a go. Otherwise, like if you have just knowledge of Python, you for competitive or maybe C++, you can target organizations which are working in developing those libraries for Python or C++. For example, I said that Boost C++ is one organization that uses C++ to build libraries, and there is another one. It's Seagull, CGAL. It's an org that works in the field of computational geometry. Again, uses C++. So maybe you can apply your skills there. At least you know how to develop logic in C++. Using C++, maybe you can give it a go there. Python, again, think organizations like SymPy, and there was another one. I'm just forgetting the name. SymPy is one organization that actually again develops Python libraries for mathematical uses. You can again contribute there. So giving it a go is almost never goes in vain, right? Or maybe you can again give yourself a break of 1 year, prepare yourself in this 1 year, and give GSoC a go in the next year, that is in 2023. Is it difficult to contribute to GSoC alongside intern preparation? I think we've already answered that in one of the previous questions. If I already have an internship in the summer, will I still be able to contribute to GSoC along with it? You are allowed to contribute to GSoC. Again, it will be hectic for you. Google as such does not pose any restriction that if you already have an internship, you won't be able to contribute to GSoC. It is only that they themselves also do not encourage it, because they know that it will be very trying on you, both in terms of effort as well as time. So again, it completely depends on you if you are able to cope up.
And some organizations even ask for your commitments for summer. So yeah, so
even that restriction is there for some of the organizations. Hardik, will you take the next one?
I shall now be in 2-2 and I have a formal solve. I don't think there will be any problem in managing GSoC, the courses and SOP. Like SOP, you can take SOP as another course, and I don't think you will have any problem. SOP does not require a lot of time. Just a couple of hours a week or 3 to 4 hours a week is enough for SOP. Yeah.
Yeah, like even I had a SOP in 2-2, and I was able to manage my time pretty well. It just depends on which things you want to give more priority to, which projects you want to give more invest more time into. Right. Can PS1 and GSOC be done together? Almost everyone does that. So again, it's just like preparing for SI along with GSOC. Like yeah, it's very much possible. Does GSOC clash with PS1, especially in an offline sim? It always does. PS1 and GSOC go hand in hand. PS1 is for a lesser duration, around from June to July, but GSOC spans from June to August mostly. And now it has been extended even to 22 weeks. Right. So how will not having past projects affect our selection in GSoC? As I think Hardik mentioned in one of his slides, past projects do not really affect your selection. Like it might help if you have a project aligning in that direction only. But yeah, even if you don't have, mentors really don't pay attention as long as you have skills for the project in hand that you are applying for. Having a past project is not an issue. But yeah, getting selected into GSoC will definitely add a very good project onto your resume. Do people who have already been selected for GSoC participate in next year? Are you both going to participate?
Actually, some people go for GSoC twice, but I am not planning. I have some other plans for this summer, so I'm not planning to do GSoC in the summer.
Yeah, even my answer would be same as Hardik. At least I am not planning to go for GSoC again. But yeah, people do participate. On an unrelated note, is summer internship different from PS1? Perhaps we would not answer this one because again, it's unrelated. One mistake in your GSoC, would you mind mentioning? What would you like to correct? Okay, that's a good question. One thing that personally I would like to correct in my maybe not during the actual GSoC phase, but during the preparation is that perhaps I missed out a bit on my academics, right? And that's what I would suggest, that maybe you should give more priority to academics rather than preparing for GSoC, because at the end, finally, it is a CGPA that matters at the end of your graduation, right? So if you think that GSoC is taking a toll on your academics, it is taking a toll on your CGPA, perhaps you should reconsider your decision. Whatever is more important to you, for me it was my CGPA, that you should give more time to. Finally, I was able to cope up with the deficit that I had made. But again, you should again reprioritize your things whenever you think that you are making some mistake. Hardik, you would like to give your opinion on that.
My GSoC coding period was very hectic, and this thing can be prevented. Like if I have planned in a better way before the coding period. Like before the coding period, we have around 7 to 10 days in which we can plan what we'll be doing in the coding period. So better planning could have resulted in much easier, less hectic coding period. Yeah, but that's not a problem.
So if you still have any questions, maybe you can put it on the chat box or in the form. Please do not put it in the form. We won't be able to go back to the form again and again. Maybe if you have more questions, you can put it in the chat box. There. Okay, we still do have a number of questions in the chat box. One of them is, the summers are summer of America, right? What's this period in India? No, it isn't like that. It doesn't matter that at what time did the temperature reach 40 degree in America or US or India. It's a fixed time. Like for us, it was I guess to 23rd August this time, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think.
So it's a fixed time for all people across the globe. And anything else that we have here? Will you share a recording of this? Yes, we will be putting it in the live stream, saved on the YouTube. Or you can visit Coding Club's account there, and you can find the recording there. What's an SOP? SOP is study-oriented project. More about that from not in this session, maybe later. I started in my third semester. That is in 2-1. I started preparing for GSoC around September of my first semester of second year. That is third semester. Yeah, we will be sharing these slides. Perhaps we will be putting the description, the link to these slides in the description of the recording in the YouTube stream. What if we contribute to 2 organizations simultaneously? Look, that's a good question. See, this is something that I would personally advise against, because people in the admins, people who are the admins of those organizations, the org owners, they can see which all organizations that you have applied to. So let's say that if I have applied to organization A as well as I applied to organization B, the owners of both these organizations will be able to see that I have applied to the other organization as well. Now it is a double-edged sword. You might be doing this to increase your chances of selection, to stay on a safer side, but it might go the other way around as well. Both these organization owners might get offended and they might reject you from the process. Okay, but yeah, it might happen that some organization, like, it really wants you, it might select you first. What happens in this case is that, let's say that both these organizations accept you. In that case, a priority is given to that organization which has accepted you first, and it can be changed. And an organization that has accepted you first, you have to go with that organization. It can be changed if and only if that organization decides to let you go, and only in that case you can join the other organization. And again, it takes a lot of not paperwork, but yeah, it takes time. So perhaps better not to do that. But yeah, you can always do this thing, that you can apply for multiple projects in the same organization. That is what Hardik did, and yeah, it was to be on the safer side, right? And that usually works, and that is safe. Okay. Can you share the slides? We will be sharing the slides. Is selection in GSoC same as getting selected in one of the organization, or working in a project? Exactly. Yeah, that is what getting selected into GSoC is. If you have got selected under an organization that is participating in GSoC, you can basically say that yeah, you have been selected into GSoC. You are a GSoC student. Anything else? So perhaps we are in the last few minutes of the session. If you still have any questions, please put them up in the chat box. And just on an ending note, we have something in store for you this year. So if you're able to see my slides. Just give me a second. Yeah. So this year we have decided to introduce a repository for you people, the ones who are aiming for GSoC this year. What they can do is, if you want to get some reviews on your proposals in this repository by Coding Club, what you can do is you can put up queries regarding your proposal, and as and when people from Coding Club will find time, they will help you to sort out your queries or your issues. Again, what I would say is that the best people to discuss your proposals are your mentors, respective mentors. But yeah, still, if you want some advice, informal advice from your seniors, from your peers, maybe you can use this repository. So this repository is currently, it is in private mode. We'll be soon giving out access, public access to this. But yeah, you can always visit the slides and find the link to this repository. So fine, I don't think we are getting any other questions. So thanks a lot for coming. These are the links to reach out to us. Please feel free to reach out to us for any queries that you might be having. And yeah, even we had a very good time sharing our experiences with you. Thanks a lot again for coming, and we wish you all the best for the upcoming season of GSoC. And may BITS Pilani have the most number of selections this year. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Good night.